Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at an upcoming Tier 6 British medium tank that has come to the Supertest relatively recently. And a little bit of insight into this tank is it's likely going to be 2024's well-deserved reward. There's been some rumours, a little bit of murmuring in and around the community, and this tank is looking, and especially its statistics are shaping it up to be the likely contender for the 2024 free, because the well-deserved rewards are free, tank that we will see towards the end of November this year. Well, it looks pretty cool. You have to agree. It's definitely got a interesting turret style, but how does its statistics shape up? Well, interestingly, that's for sure. Obviously, if you know my videos, I tend to not go below tier 8, but because this thing is looking like the well-deserved reward, I felt, why not, eh? But statistics. So it's going to have 230 alpha damage, which is pretty nice for tier 6. Kind of sits smack bang average for medium tanks at tier 6. Its penetration values, 170 standard, AP, 198 gold, APCR are once again pretty nice. AP, 170, a little bit low, but it's gold, 198 APCR is pretty nice for tier 6, especially when you're fighting those, the heavy tanks, which have got quite a lot of flat plates at tier 6. 198 will be pretty reliable. Shell velocities are pretty negligible, but 920 AP, 1075 APCR are just bang average, not anything special there. It's got quite a long reload time for its alpha damage, so 9.2 seconds for 230 alpha does give this tank a pretty poor DPM of 1500. And its aim time and dispersion are not looking the best either. 2.3 is okay, but it's definitely not the best. Once again, very average. And 0.37 dispersion is pretty poor. When you are mid towards long range, you will feel it. But if you're short to close range, yeah, 0.37 is passable. But it's definitely going to feel a little bit derpy, pretty unreliable at most ranges. But this tank has a party trick, and it's its gun depression. Minus 14 degrees, which, as you can tell by having a look at this tank, you could maybe guess. It has a very small turret. Its gun looks like it's more attached to a shelf than the actual tank, and therefore it gives it the ability to basically raise and lower the turret to extreme values. And minus 14 degrees of gun depression, I believe, will be the new highest gun depression below tier 8. And it will definitely allow you to work some very interesting positions, especially as this tank is looking quite low profile. So maybe there'll be some rubble piles that you can kind of just prop yourself up on. And once again, if you're peeking over a ridgeline with this tank, they really do not have a lot to shoot at. They basically have the diameter of the gun to shoot at. Because your turret is so narrow, it's going to be interesting to see how easy it's going to be to shoot this tank if it is doing something funky behind a ridgeline. But 14 degrees is going to be this tank's party trick, essentially. Speed-wise, 52 is actually pretty nice. You'll be able to be pretty aggressive with this tank, taking some slightly peculiar positions. Once again, with that gun depression, a nice kind of combination there. Power to weight ratio is pretty average, but 18.3 will mean you're able to maintain your speed over most types of ground. HP, 840 is bang average, nothing special right there. Armor, interestingly, not actually terrible. You'd feel when you had a look at this tank and you look at it, you'd go, oh, it's got like 20 millimeters, 30 millimeters of armor. It actually has 76 as its hull and its turret armor, which is actually not bad. And might be able to, remember, it's a tier 6, so it can play against tier 4 tanks, actually be able to bounce some tier 4 shells, which is pretty peculiar, actually. But when you are playing tier 5 against tier 5s and tier 6s, it's not going to work. It's only really against those tier 4 tanks with those lower penetration values that it's going to work. And tier 6, remember, can play tier 8, This tank will be a little bit of a HE magnet, I guess, if you are playing at tier 8 and you see this thing and you catch its side or its rear, you will be able to pen it 90% of the time with HE. And interestingly, it has 380 meters view range, which is a little bit peculiar because it looks like a really low profile tank, which tend to have lower view range values. But because it's quite low profile, looks quite small as we can look in the image, it's likely going to have decent camo rating. So there's a small likelihood that you can combine that view range with decent base camo and be able to do a kind of spotting setup in this tank, which would be kind of interesting to see. And it might be a way to get it to work. But let's compare this tank now to the AC4 Experimental. Both are British tier 6 medium tanks, and the AC4 is quite often available for free through the Twitch drop store, so many of you, I guess, will have seen it there. But if we do see the Comres 75 as the well-deserved reward for 2024, many players will have it, so it will be seen quite a lot on the battlefield for a period of time. So, DPM, the Comres is losing here pretty significantly to the AC4, 1500 compared to 1877. Alpha damage, the Comres does have the plus here, 230 compared to 150. The AC4 just fires a hell of a lot quicker. Dispersion values, both identical, 0.37. Aim time, the Comres is losing here, 2.3 seconds compared to 2.01 for the AC4. The AC4 has got decent aim time, and because you are firing quite often, the dispersion matters a little bit less because you've just got more chances to be able to hit your shots. However, the Comres tank having a higher reload time and then a worse aim time, it will feel a little bit more punishing when you miss a shot. Mobility, interestingly, the AC4 it has got better mobility, but that is a pretty speedy tank. But 52 is definitely not that much worse and will still feel pretty quick. Gun depression, which is looking at the Comres' party trick. Obviously, the Comres is winning here, minus 14 compared to minus 10 for the AC4. HP, identical, 840 each. View range, the Comres having the win here, 380 compared to 360. So as I said, maybe could do some kind of like pseudo spotting build. Penetration values, AP, both standard, looking pretty much identical with 1 more millimeter of penetration for the AC4. Interestingly, the gold penetration for the AC4 is pretty incredible for tier 6. 239 millimeters APCR is pretty much you fire full APCR and you pen everything you shoot at, even towards tier 8. However, the Comres will struggle when it's fighting those tier 7, tier 8 tanks because it only has 198 millimeters of gold penetration. So, what's my opinion on this tank? Well, I think it's looking pretty alright. It's tier 6, so I know not many of you particularly care about tier 6. However, if this is going to be the well-deserved reward for this year, you're going to be getting it for free, so you can't really complain. And if you don't like it, it's a free 750,000 credits, so you can't complain. But if you do like tier 6 and you do play it, I think this tank will be pretty interesting. It's going to be a little bit peculiar, especially with its gun depression, its armor profile. It's definitely going to bring something new towards tier 6, I feel. And at the end of the day, it's not looking overpowered. It's also not looking terrible, so I feel it'll be a good addition to the game. Those kind of tanks which just kind of fill out and pack out the average tier do no harm, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, quite a few of them are quite fun to play. They just kind of have their quirks. And it's looking like this one's going to be its gun depression. So, at the end of the day, it does no harm. And I think it'll be a decent addition to the game. And if it's free, who knows? Maybe I'll even play it a few times myself. But do let me know down in the comments what you think about this tank. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the rumours that this is going to be this year's well-deserved reward? And if it is, are you going to play it? And if you did like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one.